You know what's wild? Most people spend their entire lives trying to prove something to the world, but they forget the one person they actually owe everything to, themselves. And I want you to feel this right now, not just hear it. Because there comes a moment in your life when the noise fades, when the excuses collapse, and you're left face to face with the truth. You are the only one who can transform your life, not because someone else demands it, but because you owe it to you. You owe it to the version of you who suffered silently. The version who stayed up at night wondering if life would ever change. The version who kept giving, kept sacrificing, kept holding on even when everything felt heavy. That version of you deserves a breakthrough. That version of you deserves the life you keep imagining but haven't fully committed to yet. Listen to me. Your life doesn't shift when circumstances magically get better. Your life shifts when you get better, when you decide to raise your standards. When you say, enough, I'm done living at half capacity. I'm done dimming who I am. I'm done betraying my potential. That's the moment everything changes. That's the moment you step into the identity you were meant to own. Because you can tell the world that you're strong. You can post quotes. You can talk about growth. But if you're not showing up for yourself in the dark, when no one is watching, then you're lying to the one person who matters most. And you know it. You feel it. That quiet disappointment inside you, that's not life punishing you. That's your potential calling you out. You owe it to you to stop negotiating with your fears. You owe it to you to stop revisiting the pain just to avoid the discomfort of growth. You owe it to you to stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect emotion, the perfect push from someone else, because none of that is coming. The only thing that's coming is the day you look back and realize you were capable of so much more, but you didn't step up. I'm telling you this with love, but also with absolute truth. Your life is a direct reflection of the standards you've accepted. If you accept fear, you'll live in fear. If you accept doubt, you'll act with doubt. If you accept the story that you're not ready, you'll spend your whole life preparing instead of living. But if you raise your standards, if you look in the mirror and say, I owe myself discipline, I owe myself healing, I owe myself consistency, I owe myself greatness, then life starts bending to that identity. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're not behind. What you are is under-committed to you. But that can change in a second. And it changes when you stop chasing external validation and start building internal respect. Because when you respect yourself truly, deeply, you stop tolerating the things that drain you. You stop entertaining people who don't match your values. You stop shrinking. You stop settling. You start rising. And let me tell you something powerful. Self-respect is earned not by perfection, but by repetition. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you earn it. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you earn it. Every time you show up on the days you don't feel like it, you earn it. That's how you build a life you're proud of, step by step, choice by choice, standard by standard. So hear me, you owe it to you to live a life that inspires you. You owe it to you to fight for the future you imagine at 2 a.m. You owe it to you to let go of what's poisoning your spirit. You owe it to you to break the cycle, to be the one who changes everything, not just for the world, but for yourself. Because at the end of your life, you won't be judged by the opinions people had of you. You'll judge yourself by one thing. Did you become who you were capable of becoming? And that answer starts with the decision you make right now. You owe it to you. And it's time to rise. You must raise your standards because your life will only rise to the level of what you demand from yourself. And this truth is something most people never fully grasp. They believe change happens because life finally becomes easier, because circumstances finally align, because the right opportunities magically fall into place. But life doesn't upgrade itself. It responds to the standards you set, what the boundaries you draw, and the identity you choose to embody. If your standards are low, life will hand you the lowest version of yourself. If your standards are acceptable but not extraordinary, life will keep you in a loop of average outcomes, predictable routines, and emotional flatlining. But when you raise your standards, when you demand more from yourself than anyone else ever could, life has no choice but to rise to match that demand. It's not motivation. It's not luck. It's the identity you are willing to fight for. Most people don't fail because they are incapable. They fail because they tolerate too much. They tolerate their own excuses. They tolerate their own doubts. They tolerate the habits that contradict the future they want. They tolerate mediocrity because it's familiar, even if it's painful. And the truth is, your standards are revealed not by what you preach, but by what you're willing to settle for when nobody's watching. If you settle for good enough, the universe will give you nothing more than good enough. If you settle for inconsistency, you'll get inconsistent results. If you settle for fear, fear becomes your ceiling. But the moment you raise your standards, the moment you tell yourself, I don't accept this anymore, something shifts inside you. You stop negotiating with your weaknesses. You stop collecting reasons to stay where you are. You start moving with a clarity and a power that you didn't even know you had. Rising your standards isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about deciding who you refuse to be anymore. It's about choosing a higher identity and refusing to return to the version of you that keeps playing small. When you raise your standards, you create a psychological shift that makes your old habits uncomfortable. The things that used to feel normal, laziness, distractions, emotional spiral cycles, procrastination, staying trapped in toxic environments, suddenly feel out of place because they no longer match the identity you've chosen. And this is where transformation truly begins. Change doesn't start when things get easy. Change starts when you stop tolerating the things that keep you from growing. There is a cost to raising your standards. You will lose people who were comfortable with your lower level. You will outgrow environments that once felt like home. You will face resistance from your own mind because the human brain loves familiarity. But that discomfort is proof that you're breaking patterns. It's a sign that you're stepping into a new chapter of your life, one where you no longer settle for emotional crumbs, half efforts, or deluded dreams. And the more you hold the line on your standards, the more your identity strengthens. You start to see yourself differently. You begin to respect the person you're becoming. You start to make decisions that are aligned with your future, not dictated by your past. Rising your standards is a personal contract. It's saying to yourself, I refuse to live below my potential. It's deciding that your future deserves better effort, better discipline, better focus, and a better version of you. It's understanding that your standards create your boundaries, and your boundaries determine your energy, your relationships, your growth, and your results. When you elevate your standards, you automatically elevate your behaviors. You stop waiting for motivation and start operating from identity. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop being pulled by your old patterns and start being driven by your new purpose. And here's the powerful part. The moment you raise your standards, your mind begins searching for ways to support that identity. You start thinking differently. Self-respect is built by keeping your promises to yourself, and every choice you make either strengthens or weakens that identity, because at the end of the day, your life is shaped not by what you say you'll do, but by what you actually follow through on. Most people don't realize that the relationship they have with themselves is the foundation for everything else: your confidence, your discipline, your energy, your mindset, your ambition. It all comes back to the agreements you make with yourself in private. When you say you'll wake up early and you do, you build trust. When you say you'll stop repeating a destructive pattern and you actually commit to breaking it, you build integrity. When you say you're done settling and you start acting like someone who refuses to shrink, you build power. But when you break your own promises repeatedly, you start eroding the identity you're trying to build. And that erosion shows up in your emotions, your decisions, and your belief in what's possible for you. Self-respect isn't something you can fake. You can pretend to be confident in front of people. You can smile through stress. You can post motivational quotes, but internally you will always feel the truth. You can't lie to yourself. Your brain keeps the receipts. Every broken promise becomes a quiet whisper reminding you that you don't follow through. Every abandoned goal becomes evidence that you can't rely on yourself. And that emotional weight builds until you start seeing yourself as someone who can't change, someone who can't grow, someone who can't break cycles. This is why so many people feel stuck, not because they lack potential, but because they've lost trust in themselves. Without self-trust, there is no foundation for confidence, no foundation for discipline, no foundation for transformation. But the moment you start keeping even the smallest promises to yourself, something powerful happens. You begin rebuilding the internal structure you've neglected. You start proving to yourself that you can change. You start showing your mind that when you decide something, your actions follow. You start creating a new identity brick by brick. And this identity becomes the engine behind everything you do. It's not about grand changes at first. It's about consistent, small commitments that compound. Wake up on time. Follow through on your routine. Honor your boundaries. Say no when you need to. Stay disciplined when it's uncomfortable. Every single one of these choices is a vote for the identity you want to build. Self-respect grows not in moments of motivation, but in moments of resistance. When you don't feel like doing the work, but you do it anyway. When fear rises, but you still take the step. When the old version of you tries to pull you back, but you hold the line. These are the moments that shape you. These are the moments that build your internal strength. Self-respect is earned in silence when no one is cheering for you, no one is watching, no one is validating you. It's earned through self-leadership, the willingness to guide yourself even when the path feels unclear or heavy. And the more you choose alignment over convenience, the stronger your identity becomes. Every choice you make is a signal to your subconscious. When you keep your promises, you signal strength. When you break them, you signal weakness. Your mind is always listening, always adjusting, always learning from your behavior. If you consistently betray your commitments, your mind will adapt to that and push you toward behaviors that match the lower identity you've accepted. But when you consistently uphold your commitments, you teach your mind to expect greatness from you. You teach it that discipline is normal, that growth is your standard, that quitting is not an option. This is how real transformation happens, through repeated signals that create a new internal blueprint. And what happens when your blueprint changes? Your life changes. Your relationships change because you no longer tolerate disrespect or inconsistency. Your habits change because you choose what aligns with who you want to be rather than who you used to be. Your dreams become clearer and more accessible because you believe you can build them. You start walking with a different energy, a different confidence, a different presence. People can feel it. You can feel it. And that feeling becomes momentum, pushing you into higher levels of growth and responsibility. Self-respect is spiritual. It's emotional. It's psychological. It's rooted in the decisions you make when comfort tempts you, when fear paralyzes you, when doubt whispers to you. And every time you choose to honor yourself, you reclaim power that you didn't even know you had lost. You stop abandoning yourself. You stop betraying your own potential. You stop living in cycles of disappointment and start living in cycles of self-trust and self-leadership. This is how you rise. This is how you grow. This is how you become the person you were meant to be.